Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. It's morning here where we are in California. I'm Kara Powell.
And I'm Brad Griffin.
And we are excited. In fact, I woke up this morning and thought, today's launch day, Brad.
It is. It is launch day.
As an author, you work on a book for years. And then what's weird is you submit it to a publisher. We might not all know this, but you submit it to a publisher 12 months before it comes out. So we submitted the manuscript to our great publisher, Baker Books, a year ago. And now the baby's been born.
Indeed.
it's like a 12-month gestation instead of 9 for us humans. It's launch day.
Yes. And
Yay.
we have balloons. We have a lot to celebrate.
Our awesome team has done such a great job making this whole morning festive. And we're really glad to celebrate with you. And what a perfect time to think about 3 questions that change every teenager, given it's early August, which, as if you're a youth leader, a parent, a grandparent, just anyone who's paying attention, a teacher, a church member, you know that right about now, it's a big back to school time.
It is. It is. So, in fact, we brought some backpacks today.
Yes.
All right. Yes. We're thinking about back to school. I saw pictures this morning of people sending their kids back to school.
Yeah, it started this week.
Mine go back in another week. Yours a little beyond that, but it's like this whole next month, right?
Yeah, it's back to school month.
It is back to school month.
So you brought your backpack.
So I have a backpack. All right.
And I don't own a backpack. I'm kind of a briefcase on wheels person. And so this is actually my 15-year-old's volleyball backpack. And I just emptied out the knee pads and the smelly tennis shoes.
I kind of smell it.
Yeah, you might actually.
Yeah.
Brad's got a keen sense of smell.
I
I've learned over the years. But it's complete with like candy wrappers.
Oh, nice.
Old COVID mask.
Yeah.
So this is very authentic teenager here.
I take my water bottle everywhere. Okay, I'm thinking about back to school, right? Yeah. Okay, so we have a water bottle. Everybody's going to be taking some form of laptop back to school, right?
A lot of
Kara, I have books in here. Look at
Look
this.
what you found.
Look at that. You can put that in yours. Oh, you got one too.
Oh, yay.
So fun.
So yeah, back to school.
Welcome back.
I mean, I think if we're honest, we're parents, we're leaders in our churches, and we're spending a lot of time with young people who are asking all sorts of questions.
Yes.
So how great that we have a book that helps all of us better understand and respond to those questions.
Yes. So, and some of you are here. It's great to see you joining us. Do tell us in the comments where you're from. Also, if you're joining us, as you think about someone else.
Hey, David. Hey, Paul. Sorry, I just couldn't.
That's great.
Couldn't resist saying hi to a couple other. Hey, Caleb.
If you think about somebody else who should be part of this conversation, please tag them. Okay. And here's the deal. We have a giveaway.
Woo!
This is exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, because it is back to school season. We're giving away copies of the book.
What?
Plus our favorite back to school supplies. Okay, which mine are highlighters.
And mine are sticky notes.
Yeah, which that was a close second for me. But
and you know what? Highlighter was a close second for me. I vacillated, but I thought, no, I actually use sticky notes almost every day.
Oh, that's good. So when you tag somebody, okay, in the comments, and when you follow us from wherever you're watching, whether you're watching on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, because we're streaming this in 3 places at once, which I think is really impressive. Yeah. Just shout out to our team who's doing an incredible job of broadcasting this to the world. But if you tag somebody, all right, then that's how you get entered to win the free book plus back to school supplies. We'll ship them to you. We are going to, if you do that, not only live, but anytime between now and Friday night at midnight Pacific.
So that's important.
So if you're rewatching this, if you're watching the replay, you can still tag somebody.
You can be included.
You can. And you'll be entered to win that drawing. And 5 people will get the school supplies in the book. So that's exciting.
5. You get highlighters and sticky notes and a book, right?
Yes.
What a deal that is.
Pretty cool.
And by the way, periodically, I'm like whispering hi to names that pop up on screen. So if you're wondering if I'm like hallucinating or anything like that, I'm just trying to welcome people.
You're having a lot of fun with this.
I am.
It's really great.
But if you notice, our team gives Brad the instructions to explain, which is actually really smart. So I just kind of color commentary, and Brad really knows what's going on. So
Yes.
So let's talk about back to school, Brad.
Yeah.
So you said your kids go back in a couple weeks.
Next week, late next week.
And, I think with the pandemic and with the surge recently, I mean, we were even talking this morning, in all honesty, we're not wearing masks. And that was a question that we had to wonder about because the pandemic is surging again. And children and teenagers are going to be in school, hopefully in person with masks. And that raises all sorts of questions.
Yeah, it does. Our kids want to get back to normal, right?
Yeah.
The kids around us, the young people we know, they just want to get back to normal. And we all do. I mean, it's been a year, right? It's been a year and a half of not normal or different versions of normal. But so we think this is actually a great opportunity for ministries to rethink what back to normal is. Which is hard because as a ministry, you want stability now, right?
And I think some of us, we felt like as leaders a month ago, 2 months ago, we were almost optimistic that it was going to be somewhat normal.
Yeah.
But now I think we're realizing it's not going to be normal. And that's why we're calling this very live stream Beyond Back to Normal, because we have to start thinking differently about it.
We do. And we're having this conversation in my church and in our ministries, with kids and with students and with adults saying, well, we'll want to come back. We'll want everything to feel normal. But this also is a great opportunity for us to rethink things, to rethink our old habits, our old patterns.
Models.
Even if your ministry has been meeting in person for a lot of the past year, it's a really great time as we head back into the new ministry year to think, well, what could we do different? What would it look like if we actually focus on the questions that teenagers are thinking about most, the questions that they care about most, what matters most to them in this season?
Which is where these 3 questions, and I'm going to go ahead and name them. I don't think we've done so yet. We do a lot, but I don't think we have in the last 7 minutes. These 3 questions are identity, who am I, belonging, where do I fit, and purpose, what difference can I make? And, while we list the 3 questions separately, of course, they all impact each other and shape each other. And I think right now, belonging, as we think about back to school, belonging is a really pressing question for young people. They're wondering, what are their friendships going to be like? Are they going to feel like they fit in if they're going back to a sports team or debate or in their neighborhood, whatever it might be? And so I think we should especially be attentive to belonging, but also purpose. And that's what I want to say about the last year and a half with the pandemic. I've been really encouraged by how a lot of creative churches and families and leaders like you are expanding young people's sense of purpose, that we are seeing young people who are serving others, who are seeking racial justice and other forms of justice. And that's really something to celebrate. Young people who are creatively shaping our world. So these 3 questions, identity, belonging, and purpose, they're important every day. But I really feel like back to school month here in August, they're even more important.
Yeah, that's right. And so, Kara, we did just release this book, right? And that talks about these 3 big questions. Just to say a little more about that, we interviewed students from across the U.S. We spent a lot of time, actually. So this is the most in-depth interview study we've ever done. Which was exciting. Something I wanted to do for years, actually, was we've done a lot of survey research. We've done a lot of work with adults. And this was a chance for us to sit with teenagers.
For like 4 to 6 hours per student, typically. Not all at once. We broke that up into chunks and had amazing conversations in church lobbies and in coffee houses and on park benches.
And some of it pre-COVID, some of it during COVID. So we got to hear how their lives were changing.
The whole continuum.
It was really fascinating and just so great to sit with students over time. And it reminded us about the importance of listening, about the importance of asking good questions and asking the questions that they're really asking. Kara, we talk in the book about a conversation framework that an adult can use, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I struggle to get past the first question. I don't always ask a very good question. I kind of get shut down, or I get a 1-word answer and I don't know what to do next. Right. So talk to us a little bit about a conversation framework that we introduce in the book.
Well, I love this subtitle for the book. And I don't remember if it was us or a publisher or a combination that came up with it.
Probably.
Probably making the most of your conversations and connections. Another way that I say that is using these 3 questions to know what to do and what to say
Mhm.
with young people you care about. And so when it comes to knowing what to say, Brad and I, boy, I find this so helpful. In fact, this morning, I was praying for a conversation that Dave and I need to have with one of our kids this week, and thinking it through using this framework.
That's
so
good.
like this is in real time parenting ministry conversations that we need to have. So it's 3 words that are all super simple. The first word is now. And this is your chance to listen, to understand, to try to unearth with that 13-year-old or 19-year-old or whoever it might be, like what is happening now? What are they experiencing? What are they feeling? What are they thinking about? So that now question, and I'll tell you, if we skip that question, then the rest of the conversation goes off the rails. Like if young people don't feel like we are with them, then they're not going to hear the rest of what we say. So
because it starts with our agenda instead of their agenda, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Which I do all the time.
I do all the time.
I have my agenda in the conversation.
That should be our next book, Brad. Like how to put aside your agenda and focus on God's agenda and another person's agenda. But yeah, very well said.
That's good.
So now God is the second question, where we think with the young person, and ideally through questions, not lecturing, ideally help that young person think about what is God inviting them to in this season? What does God have to say about what they're feeling or thinking? How would God be the Emmanuel who is with them all the time? How can they experience God's Emmanuelness? And then lastly, how? Okay, so it's now, God, how?
Now, God, how?
How do we live this out? Like, as you're talking with a young person, whether it's about technology or whether it's about mental health questions or whether it's about something at your church, whatever it might be, something in your neighborhood, how can they live out that God reality, what God's inviting them to in everyday life? So now, God, how? Like I said, I'm going to be using this. Dave and I will be using this with one of our kids this week. I won't divulge which, but we're planning on having a conversation. So for sure.
Yeah, that's good. And if that framework sounds helpful to you, if this conversation, these questions, this research sounds helpful, and somebody else is coming to your mind, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's somebody in ministry, maybe it's an educator, a mentor, another parent, please do tag them in the comments. Again, we have a giveaway running through not only our live show, but also through Friday at midnight Pacific. Okay. I'm not going to be up at midnight Pacific, but I assume someone will be, tracking that timestamp. But at any rate, tag them in the comments. Follow us, follow Fuller Youth Institute, wherever you're watching this, and that will enter you in a drawing. So 5 folks will be chosen randomly, and you'll get a copy of the book. Woo! All right, sent to you, and you will also get back to school supplies, which everybody needs.
You can put it in your backpack
right now. But we're not sending backpacks.
No, we're not sending backpacks. Sorry. They're a little big and bulky, but we're sending highlighters and sticky notes that we've chosen just for you.
Yes. So, and thanks again to everybody who's joining us. I noticed a little bit ago, Jamie Mackey from Huntsville, Alabama.
Woo!
Great to see you here, Jamie, an old friend of FYI.
Yeah.
So many of you are on.
Jeff Holt from Colorado, I saw on a little bit ago. So great to have you here, Jeff.
Yeah.
And over the last days, weeks, we've been taking questions, really, really awesome questions. And so thank you all for leaning in so much and asking great questions. And so we're going to hit a couple of these fairly quickly.
Yes.
Because they were so good, it was hard to winnow the list. But from Rosemary in New York, you're a pastoral associate for youth ministry since 2001, a big 20 years. Way to go, Rosemary. Here's her question, Brad. How do we re-engage our young people and families post-COVID? It seems they are so burned out, they don't want to participate in anything.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, so true.
Yeah. So it feels like we've been through a lot, right? Yeah. And some more than others are feeling the weight of that and feeling the hesitation about coming back. They might feel really uncomfortable. My suggestion is start small and don't push. Yeah. And I think this year more than ever, we're going to have to meet people where they are. Totally. We're going to have to meet people individually, in many cases, which is going to mean, deploying our volunteers, deploying all the people resources we have to meet people where they are, to not push, but to keep inviting. Yeah.
And what a great time to ask some questions.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a chance for us as adults, those of us over 30, to stop living based on our own assumptions about what
Mm.
young people want and actually stop and ask.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you some of the most sensitive and effective ministry ideas I've seen in the last 18 months with the pandemic are when adults like you have stopped and asked young people how they're feeling, what they want to do. Really, this is a chance for young people to be protagonists, not just participants, but to be protagonists in your ministry with and to and for them. So, so that would be what we'd say, Rosemary. Great question.
Yes.
So Morel in Georgia, I was just in Atlanta last week. Morel is 14 and has a number of close friends and families who are not believers. Awesome, Morel. Thank you for submitting this question. I love that a 14-year-old did this. She feels called to minister as an intercessor, but she also struggles with wanting to align with what's going on in the world. Yeah, so her question is this: how do I overcome my desire to fit in with my peers and the temptation to compromise my beliefs to feel like I belong? Oh, so good.
Yeah. Thank you, Morel. And the good news is everybody wants to fit. Yeah. So this is really normal. Yeah. And this struggle is going to feel real, but it's also really normal. And the other good news is that we believe that everyone belongs with God and with God's people.
That word "with" is a big word for us.
It's big. And in the book, we talk about these. There are answers. There are so many answers to the three big questions that we find, that teenagers find. And there are better answers, Jesus-centered answers. Yeah. There are answers that we believe that God wants us to hear and to really take in. And the one for us that really resonates for young people around belonging is this idea of with. Yeah. And so Morel, you belong no matter what. Mm-hmm. And your friends, as you welcome them in, they belong no matter what. We already belong with God. And because of Jesus, we belong to this family we've been woven into. And we can lean on that even in those moments when we feel like we don't belong. And even when it feels really awkward, because going back, and connecting, it's awkward. And talking about your faith is awkward, all of that. Yeah. So thank you, Morel, for bringing that. Kara, next question. Yeah. Okay, this one from Justin in Wisconsin.
Go Pack, go.
Thank you, Justin. So how do we help foster healthy racial identities? Really big question, right? Question. Really important right now in our young people, in our ministries. What does that look like to foster healthy racial identities?
Yeah. Well, gosh, this feels like a theme here, but we would say one of the first things to do is to make it discussable. Like have conversations in which you can talk about what it's like to be your particular racial identity and talk about how social location, how your race and your ethnicity, maybe even your gender, your social and economic status, how that affects how you experience the world. So, this is part of what's so great about young people is they want to talk about things like this. In fact, shame on us in the church if we're the one place that young people aren't talking about things like race. I want the church to be the first place that young people go to have, honest questions and discussions about things like race. So
that's good.
And we actually have a resource talking about race with teenagers written by three of our wonderful staff who represent great diverse ethnicities that could be helpful. So
yeah, absolutely. Another question, Kara, from Annika in Massachusetts. Okay. Did I get that right? Ooh, I'm not great with state abbreviations. I think that's right.
MA.
Annika, forgive me if I got my geography wrong.
If the state is wrong. I'm not either. I know I know like 3 capitals. In my school, we didn't learn abbreviations in capitals. So
oof. Okay. All right.
Maybe 1 or 2 capitals, actually, if I'm honest.
I love it. All right. Annika says, I fully believe discipleship happens best in a mentoring relationship. We agree with that.
Yeah, for sure.
But what do you do, especially as your youth pastor? What do you do when the vast majority of adults in your congregation are not themselves actively being disciples, or they're not spiritually mature, and so you just feel like you don't have great mentors? Yeah. This is a question we hear from people not uncommonly, actually. Yeah.
As one youth pastor said, what do you do when you don't want your students to become like the adults in your church? Yeah. Wow. Provocative question. I was just putting in a memo this morning about faculty here at Fuller that it's hard for us to form others if we're
Mhm.
not being formed ourselves. So
Yeah.
this is something that's important, is our own spiritual growth and formation.
Mhm.
So some of my thoughts are, first off, if you're the youth pastor, youth leader, then talk to whoever's in charge of adult discipleship and formation and see if you can get on the same page. Like, what should be some of your mutual goals, so that adults will be growing and adults will be able to invest in young people and be inspired by young people, to be honest. And then I think another thing I would say is we have to play a little bit more like Red Rover, Red Rover. And if you remember that game, you specifically say, "Hey, Emily, come on over." You have to do more specific invitations.
Mhm.
And so I would say, when you look at your overall church or faith community, you might not see dozens of adults who you'd love to be investing in kids, but can you name 2?
Yeah.
Can you name 3? Can you name 4?
That's
And can you individually say, I see how you're passionate about Jesus and loving our neighbor and our world. I'd love for young people to spend more time with you and for you to, in turn, be sharpened by them. And so I think individual invitations can really, really help.
Nice.
And then last thing I would say is share this vision with parents and step parents so that they can work with you to think about who are some adults who they want impacting their kids. It could be an aunt, it could be a neighbor, it could be a soccer coach. It might be somebody you don't know, but ideally someone who's following Jesus and can really be on the team of that young person. So, okay, last question from Sarah. If you have to choose between spending budget dollars on big events with guest speakers or smaller ongoing discipleship relational tools, where would you put your money right now?
Oof.
I bet I know what you're going to say, Brad.
I would put all my money on small.
Yeah, I would have bet that you would have said you were going to put all your money on small. So,
and that's not just to critique big events, and there's a place for that and a value for that. As I'm looking at this year in particular, I think small is the way to go, not only for safety reasons, but also just because young people need those relational connections.
Totally.
And they need to be seen and heard. And the more we focus on big and on what can just be kind of noise and hype, the more that, the energy of that is good, but we can lose some of the authenticity and we can lose some of that sense of really being seen and heard and known. And I think that's what teenagers need this year more than ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, those were awesome questions.
Yes.
Thanks, y'all. We really appreciate it. We have just a few minutes left. Not barely, actually. So I think we've kind of...
That time went fast.
Yeah, we blitzed through this half hour. So you all are awesome.
We should say, those of you whose questions were chosen are also getting a gift. So way to go. And your copy of 3 Big Questions is on the way as well.
So
we have double giveaway going on right here.
So Morel, the 14-year-old, is going to get a copy of the book.
That's pretty exciting.
That's really great.
Yeah.
I talk about this all the time with my kids. So you can absolutely talk about these 3 questions with kids in your ministry, kids in your family. So.
For sure. My kids actually are probably getting sick.
Yeah.
Of me saying, ooh, that's about belonging. That's about purpose.
So basically, during the pandemic, the 3 Pal kids were like my own focus group every night at dinner. We would talk about our research. So
like it or not.
Woo!
So here's the thing, though. Keep your questions coming in. Yes. We will find some other ways to respond to those questions too, I am sure, in the coming days. And again, if you want to get in on that free book giveaway plus back to school supplies, tag somebody in the comments. You can do that the rest of this week through Friday evening. We would love to do that. By the way, if you didn't get in on our pre-order deal, we have good news about that.
Yeah, I know. I'm super excited about this. So because we're so awesome. No, excuse me. Because you're so awesome.
Because you're so awesome.
You're so awesome.
I mean, you're
That's
awesome.
what I mean to say. Yeah, the more I talk, the more I make mistakes. So because you are so awesome, we wanted to give you the chance to get the pre-order bundle even after launch day. So between now and, once again, midnight Pacific, we are prompt on those times. Between now and midnight Pacific on Friday, so like 4 days from now, 3.5 days.
Which is your birthday.
It is my birthday. That's true.
Just a little fact.
Yes. I wasn't going to say that, but yes, it is my birthday. And so, yay, it's my birthday. But
and you get free books.
Because you're so awesome, you get free books. So between now and Friday, if you pre-order You also get 2 other books, right, Brad?
That's right. Thanks to Baker Books, our publisher, you get Growing Young,
Yep.
Growing With,
Yep.
2 prior books.
Yep.
And then you also get the audiobook for 3 Big Questions.
Yeah.
And then you also get a digital masterclass from the 2
Which
of
we
us.
created.
So more time with us on video. You're
Because
welcome.
you are awesome. Let me be clear about that.
You are. A couple other things coming up, just to preview real quick. We're so excited about the book. We also are excited. We partnered with our friends at Orange in Atlanta, and we created a curriculum. There's a middle school version and a high school version of this, and those are they're available if you're an Orange subscriber already. If you're not, you can purchase them through our store or the Orange store coming very soon. This month, those are going to be available. We're also going to have a new podcast season diving into the 3 big questions.
Right. So we're giving you all sorts of resources that you can share with parents. You can share podcasts with your parents, your volunteers. You can use this Orange curriculum that we've done with Orange on identity, belonging, and purpose in your youth ministry, in your small groups. So we really want to partner with you and help you think about and help your students and your volunteers and families identify how identity, belonging, and purpose shapes us so much, and how Jesus's answers are the best answers to those questions. So,
amen. This is a great place to end.
Yeah, because it's 10 o'clock Pacific.
So thank you, everybody. Thanks for celebrating with us.
Woo!
Bye.
Blessings.